The mantra is stop chasing leads because it's better for the lead and you.
This is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Josh Versteik along with Luke Acree. And before we bring on our guest today, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're not already, and while you're there, drop us a review to let us know how we're doing. We'll read it here on the show. Our guest today, I'm super excited about having this guy on the podcast. He really needs no introduction if you've been in marketing or real estate for any amount of time. Chris Smith is his name. He is the co-founder of Curator, an Inc. 500 fastest growing businesses and one of the 4 best marketers under 40, according to the American Marketing Association. His book, The Conversion Code, is taught at colleges like Johns Hopkins University, and he has been a guest lecturer at NYU. Chris used the blueprint in his book to quickly grow his own company to 8 figures in annual recurring revenue without raising any venture capital. His work has been featured in Adweek, Forbes, Fortune, and many other publications. His first book, People Work, I didn't realize this, received an endorsements from the CEO of Zappos and Gary Vee, who also wrote the foreword. Chris, welcome to Stay Paid.
What's up, man? Thank you. I appreciate it. I love your podcast. I listened to a few episodes to prep. Awesome. And what is this? Episode 8004?
8004, yeah. We're
going to get there.
Yeah.
We're not going to experience pod fade now.
I think maybe once we hit the four digits, we'll drop the numbers. Right? Yeah. That's kind of what everyone does, right? They drop the numbers.
Yeah. No, man, super excited to have you on. I mentioned before you came on, we've been following you forever. I've loved your content. We had the awesome opportunity to interview Jimmy, and now to get to interview you is a real privilege. What I love about you, man, that I feel is missing in the marketing world is so many marketers, they don't respect sales. They don't respect the calling side. They don't respect the closing side. That's just how I feel. Now, Josh and I are both sales and marketing guys. And like you, I grew up in a, boiler room type, cold calling, all that stuff. And you just bring both sides of the equation. You bring the sales side and the marketing brain, which is why I think your stuff is so relevant and so awesome. I'd love for you to share a little bit of your journey for the audience, maybe who doesn't know who you are, which is probably a few, just a slim few. But if you could share your story and just what led you to where you're at and writing the book and now, redoing it basically.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like you said, I'm from the boiler room. I was like everybody else, broke, out of a job, no money, back at my parents' couch. And there was a guy hiring salespeople in Orlando, and his name was Lou Pearlman. And he was very famous at the time. He was the guy that discovered NSYNC, Backstreet, Britney, pop culture icon, multi-billionaire. And before American Idol, before social media, before really the mainstream internet that we know today, he was doing event vacations where you came to Orlando to basically get in front of him to sing. So, and you paid $1,200 or 6 payments of $200. There's like 10,000 people at each event, and there's talent agents from the industry. And it was shady. It was shady. It really was. Because, and I'll tell you the shady part, and they went to jail for telemarketing fraud in the 80s. I didn't know that when I took the job. But the shady part was basically that they didn't care if you could sing, number one. So you didn't have to have any talent. You didn't have to basically say, I'm good at this, or sing over the phone, or submit your demo. There was zero vetting. And the talk track was, hey, you're going to, be in front of talent agents. I'm not a talent agent. I'm just a phone guy. I'm just a customer service. So that was number one. Number two, most people could not afford $1,200, but many people could afford $200. The catch was that if you don't pay the entire $1,200, you don't actually have the ticket and you can't come to the event. And I can't imagine how many people they got $200 from and nothing else ever again, pure profit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I didn't know all this. I got into sales. It was like, these guys were like Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. This was Boiler Room. This was Glengarry Glen Ross. This was that quality of coaching, training, tactics. And beyond that, I've just used that sort of knowledge for good, like doing mortgages for Rocket Mortgage / Quicken Loans, and selling software for Dotloop, and selling marketing services for Curator, and selling the books. Like, so the pitch and the tactics in the book came from the $1 billion boiler room. And people hate salespeople, to be clear. They do. They think we're sleazy, and this is why, because of stuff like this. But then you're right. Like when you're in that cubicle dialing for dollars and trying to make money to feed your family, and many of my jobs had no base, just sort of commission only, you really quickly want to make sure that the leads are legit, and so Quicken Loans and the other company, Lou Pearlman's company, they were serving up enough leads that were good enough to get the job done. They had enough people doing the job to see the numbers. And so I got into marketing thinking that, like, if you're going to send somebody 100 leads, it's okay if 99 suck, but one has to not. And it takes 5 conversations to get to the 2 appointments, to get to the 1 customer. Like right. I just sort of like, that was my job for years. Mm-hmm. So what I saw in real estate, fast forward to marketing, landing pages, social, lead gen, Google ads, Facebook ads, listing promotions, they're basically in that world now too. And they kind of got lost because it was like this relationship, nurture, client focused, past client referral business. All of a sudden, realtors are having funnels built for them, quite frankly, by the Boomtowns, Commissions Inc., curators of the world. And they quickly realized, like, oh, that's not the hard part. The hard part is getting them to answer, getting them to hear you out, getting them to book an appointment, getting them to show up to the appointment. And I had just done that for so long that I was like, oh, I can teach that part. Like, I didn't know anybody cared about that sleazy stuff. Right. But yeah, so just great experience doing marketing, great experience doing sales, loving the whole journey. And so when I'm doing marketing and advertising, I want to make sure whoever's in the cubicle that gets the leads has a fighting chance. Yeah. And when I'm selling, I want to give each lead a fighting chance. I don't want to, just blame that the leads are weak. Yeah. I'm willing to say I'm weak, which that would be scripts, dialogues, sales talk tactics that I know inside and out. So I'm excited to go deep with you guys because you guys say you love it too. I think it's rare that people actually love and are good at sales and marketing. I think it's almost right and left brain. I think it's completely different skill set to be good at both. One or the other is typically where people gravitate. So if you guys are having success with your show and I'm having success with my book, I think it is because there's this like smaller subset of people that truly know and love both. Mm-hmm. But in most cases, marketers would not convert the leads that they generated. And if sales had to generate leads, they'd be skinnier than they are.
It's so true, man. Yeah, I'd like for the longest time, and Josh and I always talked about this for our own company. It was just like, we just want to be a company that doesn't, you see these companies and they abandon all cold calling and all trying to get good at phone sales to go after just all inbound, right? Which I love inbound. You want inbound, you want people signing up online. And then you have companies that just do the cold calling. They don't have any social media presence. They're not doing any content marketing or anything like that. But if you can blend both worlds, that is where the magic happens. But like you said, so few people do it. So few people.
Yeah. It's inbound marketing with outbound sales. That's the way we try to describe it quickly. The reality is that both are harder than they sound.
Yeah. So bring us up to today. I mean, what is the biggest challenges in sales and marketing? Because I know when I first read your book, it was when I had moved over from like the creative side within the organization, kind of being more the creative director. And then Luke asked me, hey, to be the VP of marketing here. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got to figure out what marketing even is and what it means. Your book was one of the, I would say, 3 books that I remember reading then. That along with Millionaire Real Estate Agent and Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller that really stood out to me and made me realize, okay, this can be a math problem, right? But then there's also what we're talking about here with the sales side of it. It actually made me kind of respect the sales, especially listening to your audiobook because I could hear you doing your pitches in your audiobook. So bring us up to today. What is it, 6-7 years later? What's the biggest challenge that you're seeing in sales and marketing now?
Yeah, Apple is the shortest answer I could give.
Yeah.
What they are doing to user tracking, what they are doing to allow, cookies in an app, that sort of represents this greater consumer privacy empowerment movement. And so these tried and true things like knowing what people are doing on your website, knowing which emails they're opening and clicking, these are really important things for marketers. And it's sort of getting peeled back each day. You go to a website, hey, do you want cookies? 89% say no. When they don't say no, they don't say yes. 11% say yes. Wow. 89% either ignore it.
So explain to everybody listening, like, what does that mean from a result standpoint? If only 11 people are saying yes, what are you no longer able to do today?
So those other 89% of people, I could not track what they were doing on my website and then feed that data back into the CRM to the sales team. Unless they explicitly say, yes, you can put a cookie and track what I do. So that, and retargeting, by the way. So it's sort of can you retargeting or user tracking properly? Now, there's a myth because this is GDPR, which is European legislation, but lots of businesses have website traffic from Europe. And so they do the disclaimer. People should learn more about that. There's way too many websites that don't need the disclaimer. If you're a local realtor, most likely you don't even need the disclaimer because you're not trying to cookie and track people coming in from France, if you will. But Facebook changed all the targeting options. That changed. You can't, by the way, in a mobile app, if you ask to allow to track, 96% say no. So it's even higher.
Yeah. I even click no. And I'm a marketer. I understand the value of it. And I click no.
Exactly. And but maybe if it's relevant, you might click yes. And then if the brand is trusted, that helps too. Certainly, like in the research, having a brand that people know is super helpful. But the overall thing that happens is everything that we just talked about leads to distrust, and it leads to people not wanting to answer their phone. 6 years ago, your phone didn't actually say suspected spam.
Right. Yeah.
6 years ago, it didn't say silence, possible junk. That's new. This is the government, the FCC telling every carrier, like, you have to do that. It's getting out of control. 4 billion robocalls a month. Almost 200 robocalls per year per phone. So that's annoying. And you end up on text messages lists. How about email spam? People are sick of it. So the new book is me going, you know what? I don't chase leads. I don't have to call someone 5-6 times and hopefully they pick up, because I'm doing legit inbound personal brand, content marketing, showing my expertise, books, blogs, podcasts. Like I said, that part's hard. But that's what I do. And the sort of new world that unlocks is that you don't have to chase leads. So the mantra is stop chasing leads, because it's better for the lead and you. We don't want to chase people down. We don't have to call within 30 seconds of the lead or someone else gets it. And people don't want to be chased down. So let's figure that out. That's what the new book's about. So it's almost like where before you were saying sales and marketing, like in the back end, I'm saying, no, the front end, the consumer experience with the marketing, with the sales, that has to improve.
Do you find trying to, go down maybe a road tactically? I know one of the chapters in your book is about how do you attract high quality leads using an Instagram. Right? Is the name of the game today in your mind building a brand through content-based marketing, authority-based marketing, and trying to get people to raise their hand over time? Or where's the balance between the offensive outreach and the kind of passive waiting? If you know what I mean, it's like there's the billboard and then there's the cold call to the actual house. Where do you find that balance from, a content standpoint, and using maybe Instagram as an example of how to do it well?
Yeah, well, I think everybody's favorite mentor, Gary Vee, had it right, years ago with jab, 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 right hook. It's, what you guys said, prove your expertise, be as helpful as possible. I think where a lot of people miss, Luke, is they look at what industry am I in? Okay, they don't really want to do videos about that. If you look at their natural feed, what they naturally post, it's family stuff, it's vacation stuff. It's not sort of the 5 things sellers should know in this crazy market. So I think when people sort of try to do that, and that's not truly what they're an expert at, it comes across as such. When they do content, whether it's around their passion or their industry, and they are an expert, it's also very obvious very quickly. Just there's pro and amateur stuff that you see written, Instagram, YouTube, across the board. Most of the content's terrible. So it's kind of easy to stand out. But where I would go is, if what you are really, really good at, and like what you're putting content out, if there's a disconnect from what you do and sell, you'll probably always sort of be a disbeliever. And even if you try, it won't help that much. My sales and marketing knowledge is directly related to what I sell at Curator. We have, hey, I know all this stuff. Hire my company to help you with all this stuff. It's like a direct line. When Glenda Baker is on TikTok, and when she is just going off on Reels, you mentioned Instagram, and she's going off talking about these war stories and these negotiations and this NBA player she worked with, like, she's an expert at what she does. When you can figure that out, then you're in a good spot. You'll never ask the question you asked, how do you turn that corner? Because you don't have to turn the corner, but there's really cool ways to. DM me this to get this, comment this, and I'll send you this. Like, all that stuff works, man. The Instagram centric, and this is a big lesson in the book. Social media calls to action, social media as the KPI, video view, comment, like, yank the link clicks out of there, right? Yank the go to my website as the goal, go to my landing page, forget
you're
that.
Taking them off the platform, right?
Pretend you can keep them there and still do cool stuff, because you can. Because if somebody interacts with one of your posts, that's an audience for your next post anyway. So you can actually move people through the funnel without ever even putting them into it. If you use things like Instagram, people who visited my profile, people who saved one of my posts that I made, people that followed me, people that like my post, those are great audiences. They're just smaller than what we typically want, which becomes a challenge. But my favorite platform is Instagram. I think it kind of best represents all generations and media. So the pictures really matter, but tweets do really good there. And then Reels are really good there, and stories are really good there. And old people like it, and young people like it. You see what I'm saying? That one to me is sort of what Facebook was.
Yeah. Well, talk about, because you mentioned Glenda Baker, and obviously she's absolutely killing it on TikTok. We slept on TikTok for so long. Said, hey, we should be doing TikTok. We should be doing TikTok. Posted what was it? Our third video, maybe fourth video on TikTok. Got 1 million views, right? That's the most engagement we've ever seen, I think, on social media.
And it wasn't dancing.
And it wasn't even dancing. And that's why we weren't doing it. We thought, we had to dance. We can't dance. We tried one dancing video. That got 3 views. But what's the value of TikTok right now? Like, do you see that being the next platform coming in? Is it just another piece? Should everyone be on TikTok producing content? And does it need to be different than Instagram? Like, what's sort of your ideas there?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. But the dopamine that you got from the 1 million views, I bet that wasn't your last post, and what people are kind of trying to find is this little sweet spot where it's like their thing. That to me is where TikTok does really well. Glenda Baker found her thing, a guy sitting at the table with her, telling stories from the trenches. That is her thing. You see it in the feed, you know exactly what it is the second that you see it, which is great. There's obviously lots of other creators that have figured that out too. I think vertical short video is the most important type of content on the internet right now for 2 big reasons. Number one, it's people's favorite type of content to consume. Number 2, it's the social network's favorite content to send out organically. The combination of those 2 things is deadly. I'm in the same boat as you guys. I got 130,000 views on a TikTok about a trick my daughter showed me with her iPhone and a text messaging trick. And I have 3,000 followers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many followers did you guys have when you got the milli?
We had, no joke, 24 followers.
Yeah, we had just.
And now we have almost 25,000 in a couple of months. It's insane.
So,
the challenge that we have right now, Chris, and maybe you can speak to this too, or we can go back and forth. Like, what we're trying to figure out is the views and the comments and the interactions that we got aren't necessarily the people that we would consider our ideal audience or our target audience, because the video is very motivational. So it's pulling in all kinds of different people from a motivational standpoint. Is it okay to, like, getting that much traffic and attention? Is it worth doing more kind of videos that don't necessarily fit your core audience, or should you niche down extremely tight to ultimately do what we started talking about here, which is get those leads from a new source?
Yeah, I think you can niche down if you mean sort of locally, like versus, you know, in a real estate agent, a lot of mortgages are being written nationally. But if you're trying to, number one, what blew up nationally, put it in a local campaign. That's a very simple one. So take your 1 million views and then go put that into a Spark ad. That's what it's called. And then you can just hit the dots, dude. 3 dots on TikTok, promote. They're making it easy.
They are. Yeah.
So I would do that. And then you can choose your city name, or you could choose your industry, or you could choose whatever filters you guys are allowed to choose. I don't have the restrictions that realtors and loan officers have. If you do, you know, follow the rules. But that would be one way to ensure your following is hyperlocal. TikTok ad, goal of followers. You can target TikTok ads by people that are most likely to watch the whole thing, most likely to leave a comment or to heart it. It's insanely cool. So that would be one way. The other way would be, what is the thing that did big nationally? You said it was some type of motivational.
Yeah, it was a motivational kind of, you know, if you're in a rut, you know, get up, here's what you need to do. And, you know, just gave some motivational stuff.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking out loud, we're just kind of brainstorming here. But like, what about like if you live in Charlotte and you're in a rut?
Or with this, we would focus on real estate, like to try and draw in more real estate agents to our content, maybe focus specifically on a rut in your business versus just in life.
Well, what's interesting too, man.
Exactly. Just niche down. Does that make sense? You're sort of niching down. And by the way, don't be mad about all those followers that are irrelevant. Who gives a that impresses
That's
the
what
ones that are.
That's all I want to hear, really.
There you go. No, that's so true. What's interesting about it right now, others probably see this too, is like we'll do other content that doesn't do very well. But if we stick in this motivational lane on TikTok, it tends to do well. Like we'll have, you know, we have a couple other videos that have done a couple 100,000, and then some that are doing 15,000, 17,000, and then some that are lower. But it's like when the platform's telling you what people want from you, do you encourage just feed the beast over and over and over again? Is that your view?
Yeah, feed the beast. And then just feed it with like a subcategory mindset. So like you just were doing. So you're saying motivation. For agents in a rut that used to have a team, you know, hey, if you're an agent and one of your agents quit, you know, like sit up, it's going to be okay. Like whatever that.
Yeah.
So I know Veronica Figueroa, who I work with here in Orlando. She was my agent. She's just doing
she's
really good
unbelievable
stuff. She's motivational and inspirational. So that's the strategy, is she's going to motivate people. And then the smaller bucket, which is more of the tactic and the sort of actual content marketing plan, is motivate women, motivate minorities, motivate entrepreneurs.
That's a great way to think about it.
Parents. See what I'm saying? Endless. So you're not even really going into one niche, because each time you subcategorize it, you pick up a little bit from a new one.
That's so good. Yeah, that's a golden nugget for me right there.
For sure.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's awesome. So I want to talk, because I could pick your brain all day. I want to talk, in your book, you had a chapter that's, should you use an ISA or an AI chatbot to follow up with your leads? I want to get your thoughts on the chatbots. We're doing some Facebook ads for some of our clients right now. And the big problem with Facebook ads is the conversion, right? Because you can get these leads coming in and the people are converting at 1% to 3% if they are picking up the phone and calling, but they don't want to call, right? That's the big pain point. What's your opinion? Should you hire an ISA for your team, an inside sales agent, or are chatbots working?
Yeah. Well, if you ask the customer, it's tricky because the people that are serious, that want to do business, that are trying to reach out to a business, they want a person 74% of the time. They want a chat bot 3% of the time. So the tricky thing is you may convert some leads that you wouldn't have by deploying automation and AI, but you're also unconverting some of your best leads and nearly embarrassing your brand while you do it. When I talk to the agents that are the ISAs, that are the buyer's agents, that the AI is assisting in quick communication, trying to qualify, they're not reporting great results because they're basically saying that it kind of embarrasses them with people that really matter. And it sort of tricks people that don't. So my opinion would be that a hybrid is much more preferred than just a chatbot. If you have people and some of the vetting filters, what I would do is go back to my other tip on social, keep it on social. Because if you send us a message for the price and pictures, and then they say, hey, I want the price and pictures in a DM.
Yeah.
And then you say, great, where should I send them? Text or email? They say text is best. You can pull some of that off with ManyChat. You can. And you can do the DM this to this on Insta and pull that off. So yeah, like it's tricky. I personally, I know live chat, if you compare that to chat bots, people, when they go through the live chat and they have a chat with a person, they're 2.8 times more likely to convert. So wow. It is a high quality lead.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear you say those stats. So because my gut, I don't have any stats to back it up, but my gut in working with real estate teams and real estate agents, like my own brother had a bot going for a while. And that's what I found. And for our own leads, do you know how we use Facebook Messenger's bot basically to respond? You would constantly see the drop off from people who were actually interested but got upset that they knew they were talking to a bot.
Or kind of grossed out.
Yeah, it's like a weird feeling. And I'm just such a firm believer that, it's difficult, but if you can get that person to be that cold caller on your team, it's not even cold calling, the warm caller on your team, like that is going to do you so much more good in being able to qualify and being able to get those people into the right bucket on your funnel. And then you can drip on them for the rest of the time. I just never heard the stats before. So I'm super happy to hear you say that because that's where my gut was going. In terms of like sales tools to increase like your engagement or your conversion, what are some of the sales tools you would recommend to people?
Well, I think you mentioned earlier, may have been Josh, about like what changed. Well, in 2016, the sort of sales stack, the tech stack for salespeople was CRM and a dialer, and maybe a headset if they had a, so what's come a long way and what's interesting to me, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to it, is the best sales tools and sort of where they can be effective. And it's amazing what's possible now. Like if you're running a big sales team and you're making lots of calls every single week, there's technology like Gong, GONG.io. And it records the calls and it measures the sentiment and it chapters it. It makes it searchable by keyword. So if somebody, is on the phone and one of the big objections that keeps coming up is, I'm not interested right now. We're just kind of starting the process. I didn't want to speak to anybody yet. What do they say in that moment? What do they say in the moment when commission comes up? What are they saying in the moment when they say, we're going to talk to another agent? So picture your coaching calls picture like real world sales calls getting recorded and then becoming searchable and indexable. So now all of a sudden I bring on a new agent and I say, hey, here's 8 clips where our best salespeople got asked about commission. I got a library that's like situational. And Gong, they provide a lot of data in the book because they did the largest study of recorded sales calls of all time. And they found things like top salespeople are pitching and talking about the terms and sort of starting to close at minute 42. bottom salespeople, average salespeople, minute 14.
Wow.
There's a whole lot we could go down that path. On a call where an ISA books an appointment, so somebody calling just to book an appointment, they're called SDRs in Silicon Valley, not ISAs, but same role, like book the appointment for the rep. 5 minutes and 50 seconds on a call that led to an appointment that was booked, 3 minutes and 30 seconds on a call that didn't lead to an appointment. Yeah. So when I have said in the past, conversations create customers, dig deeper, go to sleep, make sure you're doing feature, benefit, tie down, and getting them to engage throughout your sales pitch. It was really fun. Kind of what you said, the data backed up what I always knew to be true because I had done the work. But when I saw the data through Gong, so that would be one is Gong that people can look at. But there's AI that'll take notes during your sales meetings. One of the really cool ones is called Sales Screen. If you have a team that you want to do like a competition, so you do like a March Madness bracket, but to win a prize, the most calls or the most appointments or the most contracts written. And you could do it in a scoreboard where everybody sees each other and they kind of progress through the rounds and there's a grand champion.
We just did this with our sales team. So yeah, it's very relevant.
Did it lead to an increase in output?
Oh, it led to a lot of increase for us in, I should say competition, but yes, output as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to do ISA day and it was like, one day, everybody's an ISA. And by the way, on that one day, whoever books the most appointments, gets a $500 gift card.
Wait, ISA day for the whole company?
For the whole sales team?
Oh, the whole sales team. Okay, yeah.
The whole company.
I was like, dude, the whole company, that would be amazing. Yeah. Can you imagine software developers? ISA day.
The sales man, that would not work. The sales manager, the sales reps put on the headset and they become an ISA.
I love that.
Team in that.
That's awesome.
On the ISA day.
Yeah. and just appointments like, whoa, through the roof. People are competitive. The prizes work, so the sales screen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. Screenify. There's a few different ones that I mentioned, but the output goes up and output directly correlates to results.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead and let's dig into I know you have this $1 billion sales script, right? And so I remember listening to your first audiobook and it was like for the first time ever, I thought I could jump on the phone and sell. Just like, this is easy what he's going through. I don't want to give away the whole script. Obviously, I want people to buy the book to get it. But what kind of, maybe break it down to like the intro or something like that. Like, what are you teaching people in the book in order to have increased phone time, right? Take those 3-minute conversations to 5-minute conversations. Take that pitch at 14 minutes to getting it to where you can do the pitch at 42 minutes. What are some of the tips you have there?
Yeah, well, the script, I do give the script away, believe it or not. If people go to the conversioncode.com and just scroll down a little bit, the script is there. It's meant to be used as you read section 3. People certainly could download it. And there's a lot of blanks. I don't know what your features and benefits should be. I don't know what your qualifying questions should be. I don't know what the nuggets are that you should do during your pre-call stalk that you mentioned when you reach out to the lead. So, it's a bunch of blanks, but if you read it, if you use it with section 3, it's really powerful. One technique that I kind of learned with my buddy, Phil M. Jones, we wrote another book that blew up called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. Yeah. That thing is popular. And Phil's a genius at sales. And what he developed is something that's easy to remember: opening, fact, question, right? Like, so if you think about, the pre-call stalk, which is where you go into the CRM, like how many houses have they looked at? What's the price range they're looking? What's the area they're looking? How long have they been looking? You should grab like 2 or 3 of those every single time. They can go into your opening facts, question. So I would say, hey, Susie, it's Chris. I'm calling from EXP. You registered to look at a property on our website about a year ago. It was in 90210. At the time, it was $2 million, right? Are you still looking to buy a home soon? Opening, fact, question. But don't you think that the fact is the thing that really makes that technique work really well? So that I think is sort of marrying the digital data, big data, CRM, like all that data that we have, like I can call somebody and say, hey, how's it going? I met you 2 years ago at Orlando City event. You registered to win a prize at our booth, right? You've never reached out to us. We haven't spoken in that entire time. That's a fact, right? Mm-hmm. Question is, would working with a real estate agent help? Do you happen to be in the market for one or know somebody that is? So anyway, I think the structure of the call, it's not really a script per se at all. It's a framework that you fill in the blank, but the digging deep technique is the most important thing to increasing talk time to get to your actual question.
Yeah.
And that would be something like, number one, you develop a power question. A power question is not what's your time frame for moving. A power question is not where do you want to move. A power question is how many minutes do you want your drive to work to be every day?
Specific, makes people think, put them in the situation that they would like to achieve versus.
Yeah. And what could they say to that? They could say a lot of stuff. They could say under 30.
Yep.
Okay. Where do you work? Right. We'll go backwards. We'll figure it out. We'll put a circle on Google Maps. Right. So it is absolutely like, digging deep is the question after the question. So you're developing a power question, which is not like the normal question they would ask. Hey, what's your budget?
Right.
That's the normal question that people would ask. I prefer to say, what is the like payment that you want each month?
Yes, exactly.
If you guys talk through that. So the specificity and then the follow up.
It's because the more specific, like when you give the fact, or when you give a specific question like that, it almost is like a pattern interrupt that the person spends more time thinking about what you just asked and the answer than they are about you being a salesperson or you trying to get something from them or anything like that. And when you give them that specific, like it just almost makes them, they have to go and think about what you just said. It causes them to think.
There's actually a study, I haven't gone deep into it, but it's called Pattern Interrupt. It's this scientific research that was done around exactly what you just said. And that's really important to do, and there's lots of different ways you could do it. Do you want to live closer to a school or closer to your job? Which is more important? So I would just say that curiosity gets added, right? So it's like, how many minutes away? Like 10. Like, okay, would you rather walk? Like, you might as well just walk if you're only 10 minutes away. Just sort of being in the moment, because if you have your power questions in place, that's kind of your script. Mm-hmm. You can really listen to their answers. And most of the best answers don't come on the first ask.
Right. Yeah. Got to dig. Yeah. I want to jump back for just a second, because you mentioned this idea of stating a fact, and we've had this issue and we've seen our clients have this issue with Facebook leads specifically. And you mentioned the idea of, let's use our example, because our main call to action for generating internet leads is to view a PDF sample of our product. Right. And so when the sales call says, hey, I saw you requested a PDF sample, most of the time, I don't know if it's most of the time or if it's a lot of times, it's denial, right? I didn't do that because I don't want to be sold. I don't want to talk to somebody. What do you say when, like, obviously you can't come back and say, well, yes, you did. I see that you downloaded it on March 22nd at 3:42 p.m. What do you say? Do you recommend getting that specific for internet leads, or is there a way to pivot around it when they say, I never did that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, and I have a graphic in the book that people kind of can take a test. I do a workshop, and this one's actually really important for people because, and I don't even know if you guys can see that.
I see BAM.
Can.
Yeah, I see BAM, but not the details underneath.
Just below BAM is a line that says quality on one side and quantity on the other side, and they're just directly related. So if you want way more, the PDF download type of lead, the quality is not going to be as good. If you want real high quality, I can't get you nearly as many. I just think people have to understand that give and take and be okay with it. I'll give you an example. My book launch, I have 4 leads, thousands of views, books sold. Don't get me wrong. But the 4 leads that I have are amazing. They're perfect. They're going to convert. I don't have to stress. I'm going to take my time with them. I'm going to approach it the way that it should be approached. And I charge a ton of money for that particular thing that I do, the certification and workshop where I spend 2 full days with their team.
Okay.
So what I would say would be, where are those leads if I'm in sales? Because the PDF ones are great, but like if we're getting both, we call those appointment leads. That's what they say, like in the CRM. What I would say to answer your question directly about what should they say when they're a denier, choose something they can't deny. So where do they work? What market are they in? What's a listing they have right now? Hey, you're the listing agent for 123 Main Street, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great point.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm reaching out is
Yeah, get them to engage. That's a really, really good golden nugget.
You got to do that pre-call stalk though.
Yeah.
Well, the pre-call stalk is critical. And that's something that, again, people will overlook, and I get it. Like, you downloaded a PDF a year ago. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so much you can do with that.
Yeah.
That would maybe, quite frankly, be a lead I don't chase. How many of those PDF downloads are you getting? What are you asking for when you get one? Add a bunch of questions and get less of them. Qualify more. Give a few required check boxes about, would you like us to follow up with you? And that's another thing I learned, which I already knew, but the science is really interesting around the decrease in conversion rate as you add fields.
Right.
And I get that, but I got a buddy running YouTube ads for listing leads and seller leads, and he's putting them through 6 or 7 questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
On like a quiz.
Yep.
And when one pops out of the bottom, it's a listing.
Yeah.
So that would be like, at least that's where my head's at, is like, don't figure out how to improve that conversation. Figure out how to get rid of that approach.
Got it.
Yeah, that's super powerful. Hey, man, I could talk to you all day. Everybody's got to go get the book. We'll tell you where to get that in just a second. We ask everybody, though, that comes on our show, just would love to know, in your life, have there been any routines, or are there any routines that you've implemented, things that you've done that you look back on and you go, yeah, that really actually has helped me. I would encourage my kids to do that. I would tell my brother or my sister, hey, this is a routine you should put into your life. Anything in your life that's really helped drive success for you? Yeah,
that's a tough question for me. Just because, like, I'm bipolar, so I'm wired a little different than other people. But I would say that there's good and bad that come with that. And I would say that the good is this like blind confidence and this sort of like grandiose mindset that like you can do big things with your life, which I should have never had. And then the other thing is like, I have more energy than other people. I just do. And if I add that energy and I focus it on stuff that I love, I would say I probably went 8, 9, 10 years, just nonstop, all in, and I've found a much better balance now. But I think that you have to be willing to like really kind of go all in for like 5 to 10 years, not 5 to 10 minutes or days or months. And I think so. Energy is sort of specific to dopamine and serotonin, and like if you're excited and loving what you do. So for me, what I've had to just figure out is be okay with the stuff I suck at, get rid of that, hire people and pay them a little more than I should to sort of quality control it. And then I learned this from Eric Thomas. If you guys know who that is.
I love Eric Thomas, man.
He said, let the talent be the talent. And I think for a lot of listing agents and top agents and influencers like you guys that are creating content, like you're so good at that. You shouldn't have to edit it too. You shouldn't have to post it too. You shouldn't have to write the caption too. Like you did an hour, like you see what I'm saying? So that would be my mindset as far as like to maximize output matters, but what am I outputting that only I can output? But finding people on Upwork to help you, like freelancers to plug holes here and there, hiring companies like yourself to just get that whole bucket off your plate, that's very freeing. You know, it eliminates FOMO. It frees up more time. So I guess my long-winded answer here would be, you have to have belief in what you're doing every day and that it matters and that it's making an impact on the world and it's helping people, whether that's true or not. Like, figure it out, fake it till you make it. That's why they say that.
Yeah.
It's a combination of enthusiasm and energy and execution. That would be trying to sum it up. I remember, do you guys know Nicole Nicolay?
I don't recognize the name.
I don't think so.
So she was like early influencer in social media. Nick, you know, she was big on Facebook. She became an agent. She's still killing it. Like super sharp. One of the first bloggers. Her husband was like a developer for RPR when that first was being built. Nicole Nicolay. And we were at a lot of the same conferences. And she asked me one day, she's like, do you have alien blood? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, dude, you just like, it's hard to keep up with you. You're just constantly like putting stuff out there. And at the time I didn't know I was bipolar. So I need to go back to Nicole and say, I do have alien blood. You were right.
You were right. You called it.
But I'm just telling you guys that hustle really matters, but it has to be a hustle that you enjoy. And then hopefully that third bucket, which is makes you money.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Chris. Said. Before we close out, let people know how they can get the book and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, obviously Amazon is where most people buy their books. Theconversioncode.com. That's where they can learn all about what I do, connect, learn more about the book, workshops, whatever else, social media. Theconversioncode.com. It's great chatting with you guys. I want to become a semi-regular if you'll have me.
Oh, man, absolutely.
We would
real quick.
Love it.
Will there be an audio version of the new?
Please say yes.
Yeah. You know, what's so funny is the books come out and everybody's buzzing and sharing their pictures and nobody gives me any feedback. And then the audio book comes out and I get all the love coming at me. So it is critical.
Dude, it's you reading the book. Absolutely.
I'm reading it myself. 90 days is the ETA.
Awesome. All right.
I love doing it. The feedback I got last time, they let me go off script a little bit. They let me, you're not supposed to kind of go out of a certain range. And I don't think I fit in that range, but they were cool with that. So it's coming out soon.
Awesome. Can't wait. Thank you again for being on the show, Chris. And thank you all for listening. To dive deeper into this episode, get those links that Chris mentioned. You can go to staypaidpodcast.com. We also have the show notes and the video for this episode there as well. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, really the best way is to share this episode with a friend. Share it on social media, share it with a colleague, anyone that you know needs to hear this and want to check out this book from Chris. Make sure to share that. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can find us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Chris, just awesome, man. Really appreciate having you on. We're definitely going to have you back. Really appreciate just all you've given to the industry content-wise. Josh and I have been following you for a long time and have loved you guys' podcast stuff that you've done and then your books. So really appreciate that. Here's my action item for everybody, because we want you to take action on something out of this podcast. The golden nugget that really stood out to me was this idea of niching down. And especially because it's so relevant to Josh and I on the TikTok content we're doing with this motivation content and how do we niche that down. And I think all of you should take a second today to think about, hey, what's your overall strategy? You heard Chris talk about Veronica, and she has this strategy of inspiration and motivation. And then she niches it down to inspiration for women, motivation for minorities. What is it for you that you go, okay, this is my strategy that I'm trying to do. How do I niche that down to make that even more targeted and more relevant? And if you're not even sure, you got to spend the time to go, what is your authentic passion in what you're doing, whether it's in real estate, insurance, mortgage, whatever it is your business is. You got to find out what is that authentic thing that you love and then niche down to the people you serve. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every single business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.